Good afternoon, everybody. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and we're here today with another live stream of our Sock Blank Special 2-week. Today we are going to be playing around with some stenciling and stamping on our sock blanks. And since I've never tried this before, I want to try it both by using just straight food coloring, but also since we know the food coloring will spread out as we try it, but I want to see how much it spreads out, how much of a fail it is. And then we'll try using some guar gum as a thickening agent to see how that helps us get sharper lines as we are applying the dye to our stencil or to our blanks. Now, if you're wondering, if you're new to the channel and new to the week and wondering what is a sock blank, a blank is a pre-knit, or sometimes crochet, piece of fabric that you intend to dye and then unravel to use the yarn. So you can do this to paint stripes, gradients, whatever pattern you want. If you're using a double knit blank, like the sort of, well, it's actually more of a red, but it's showing up as blue, sort of in the middle of the screen under the birds. If you do a double knit blank, whatever random pattern that you paint on your blank, it will show up, you'll get two identical skeins of yarn. So all the blanks that we're doing in all of these specials are 100 grams. So the double knit blanks will give us two identical 50-gram skeins of yarn in the end. So that way if you want to make whatever random pattern you want and turn it into a pair of matched socks or mittens or something else, then you can. And so it is fun. Whoa, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. In these streams, I'm doing a combination of homemade blanks. I've featured in some of the pre-filmed videos and other live streams already some homemade crochet blanks. But the homemade knit blanks that I've done, I've used a knitting machine, like either a singing knitting machine or the one, it's the tan and green one on top is a homemade blank using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes bare yarn, and I made it this flat blank on my Loops and Threads knitting machine, which you can find at Michael's, but you can also find it on Amazon. The Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn is just 100% wool. The other blank that you see underneath the birds was a Knit Picks stroll blank, which you can find the link to buy those bare blanks, not colored ones. I dyed this on, what's today, Wednesday? I dyed the two blanks that you see here, I dyed on Monday. But you can buy, there's a link to the Knit Picks blank in the video description, and I get some credit for the sales, so that's always awesome. Those are double knit with 2 strands of the Stroll fingering weight yarn, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Ooh, you've got crochet blanks soaking and ready to go. You guys are awesome. Wow, there's lots of people on today. So it's possible that, oh no, flu central, I'm sorry, you're sick. It's possible that questions and comments could go by really quickly. So if I don't get to it, I can't always read the comments while I'm up at the counter. But you can always ask again, and that is fine. But welcome everyone. I am really, really excited for today. And I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. So in Monday's live stream, I dyed the 2 blanks that are shown up here. Today I'm going to start off with a bare Knit Picks stroll blank to sort of test out, you know, with thickeners, without thickeners, and we'll kind of use that as a test to see what works, what doesn't work. And then we'll try doing some more stenciling on a non-white background to over dye those blanks. And the reason why I did that is because to A, show that you're not limited to dyeing white yarn. You can over dye yarn. But also, since with stenciling and stamping, there's going to be a lot of negative space. And so therefore, I just wanted some of the negative space to not be white in this. So that's why I chose to do those blanks, which are currently dry. And I can actually hide myself for a moment so you can see a little more of the stroll blank. You can't see these stencils on there because they don't really show up because they're clear. But I want to give a quick shout out to Erin from I Can Craft That, who when we were talking about stencils, she made me and mailed me some DNA stencils. So we can bring a little bit of the chem into the knits today. And I am really, really excited to try those out. And the making the stencils is a part of her normal business, but links to her Etsy shop is also in the video description, so you can check her out. And so thank you for making me these stencils, because I'm really excited. Oh, you've got snow right now? Oh yeah, my sister-in-law mentioned that they had snow and she's outside of London. Oh, you're knitting with your self-dyed yarn? That's awesome. Yeah, I know that with these daytime ones, we get a lot of our European friends and stuff, and so that's exciting. I'm glad that you are all able to join me. So I think that I am now going to stand up, and so we can start sort of mixing up some of our thickeners and get started. And I guess I still need to pre-soak those blanks because those have been washed and dried, so they don't have any acid in them yet. But I am going to stand up. Oh. Alrighty. So I'm trying out a new, and of course I cannot, maybe I need to rotate this so I can see myself. I'm trying out a new camera angle today, so that way the camera is actually on my counter, so that way I wanted you to be able to get a better view of everything that is going on here today. And so these are the blanks. This is the Knit Pick Stroll blank that I dyed using a little bit of black from the, both of these were dyed actually with the Wilton Color Right system. So it's their liquid food coloring drops. And I've been really happy with them so far. There's actually a link to this on Amazon because it's on sale right now. Normally it's about $25 and it's, I think, about $18 on Amazon right now, in case you want to pick some up. But I think this one was dyed with a total of 4 drops of black food coloring that I broke. I wish that this is really sort of a purple and then almost like a gray blue, but the purples aren't really showing up on the camera very well today. Hello everybody. And then this other blank right here was the homemade blank, and I sort of tie-dyed it in a crinkle pattern, but it is not in the round. This one's a flat one that I did on the knitting machine. You can see that there's some mistakes, but it's only, I think that this one would actually be really pretty to unravel as is, but I think that we will try to add some stamping to it. All right, so the first thing I need to do is mix up some of this guar gum. This is something that is used, I guess, for cooking and stuff as well, so it is also food safe, but it's something that is used with acid dyes only when you want to use as a thickener. I'm blanking on what you want to use as a thickener if you're using fiber reactive dyes, but fiber reactive dyes will react with the guar gum, and so that's why you only use it with acid dyes. So I've read a few blog posts and recommendations, and so I have no idea. All right, this is getting all over my work surface already. Apparently the seal on here is not great. Okay, let's see if I can, okay, there we go. All right, it's sort of like a fine powder, sort of like powdered sugar or something like that. So I've read a couple blog posts, and I'm debating on how much I should really start with, because I've read recommendations that you want to do start with a 1/4 teaspoon per 1/2 cup of water, and so that's where I think I'm going to start. But you might need more. I also read that with purples, since as we know they break beautifully, you might need more. But I think I decided I wanted to start with a 1/4 teaspoon in 8 ounces of water, and I've already dissolved 8 ounces, or dissolved. I've already poured 8 ounces of water into the cup, and I figured that that's sort of a nice starting point. So then we can always add more. We can make a more concentrated mixture later on if we need to. But all right, I have added it. And the reason why I'm using this container is because I plan to use my magic bullet to help me mix this up. but I'm just going to mix by hand a little bit first to see how hard it is. I'm not sure how long I'm supposed to let it sit after it's dissolved, but hopefully I have another. Oh well, if I need to mix more, we will use a different. I'll use a different measuring spoon. Okay, so this is my magic bullet. It's just basically a blender, but I think that you could use. I mean, you could. I still see some particles around there. Oh, ha! I need to plug it in. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Suzanne. Yeah, so if some people are wondering about the bright blue box, if you look at the bottom of chat, you can see a dollar symbol. And so you can make your chat both stay up at the top of the screen longer so I don't miss it, but also it's sort of like a tip jar. And so I really appreciate the contribution. I'm not going to be stamping the dry yarn. I have over here, I have a sock blank that is pre-soaking in water, and I think it's 3 tablespoons of vinegar. So I'm planning to stamp onto the damp yarn. I will dry that out a bit in a moment. But first, I'm sorry that it's loud. All right. I mean, certainly it's bubbly now. Is it supposed to look white? I'm wondering if it feels. Of course I have to touch it. Sort of. I mean, I know it's wet, but it definitely feels slippery. I've heard that the other reason why I wanted to start with a little less and sort of increase the amounts that I use is that I've heard that it can be a little bit of a pain to rinse out of your dyes, but I don't know if it's supposed to be so opaque or if that's just because since it's sort of thick, the bubbles from here. Oh yeah, I think it's just because there's tons and tons of bubbles that are trapped in here. I'm going to blend it a little more. So again, this was a 1/4 teaspoon of the guar gum powder and 8 ounces of water. And we're nice and bubbly. And I'm going to let that sit and rinse off. Set the bullet to side. Figure I may as well rinse it off. Okay, and then that is that. I wonder if I have something that would help these show up well. So I wanted to show I don't know how well they're showing. These are my DNA stencils. I don't think that it really shows up very well right now. But there's 2 kinds. So there are these ones that would do and leave some negative space, but then there's also, Erin also sent me some stencils that so I can dye the negative space, I guess, and leave I guess the negative space would be the DNA in this one, which I think would be really, really fun. So I am very excited to play with those. Oh, don't worry about the white liquid. It's supposed to be like that. Yay. Oh, wait. I went like this, and I'm like, oh, you can't tell it's a thumbs up. I have to move my hand around. Oh, thank you, Pauline. We're just getting started, but thank you so much for the super chat. All right, so I've got my salad spinner here. And okay, so I'm going to have to get used to what you can see that's higher up. But I am going to squeeze out some of the water from this blank and then put it through here. So, I mean, I think if you were just to squeeze out the water, the fibers are pretty wet. And so then when you add food coloring, things will start to spread out. Now, I'm starting with the superwash nylon blend for this. And we know that dyes stick to this a lot faster. So what I don't know is if I were to use the Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn, is if I would need to add more, and maybe I'll grab run upstairs and grab a bare blank of that. I don't know if you were starting with a non-superwash wool, if you would want to start off with more of the thickener. But we'll see how this goes and then decide how to proceed from there. The nice thing about dyeing sock blanks is that since we're intending to unravel them anyway, it doesn't really matter if we mess up. You know, if things bleed a lot and you can't really see the stencil, I mean, I guess if you wanted to give someone the intact blank, then that's more of a shame. But if we're worrying about, you know, if it's something that you're planning to unravel, then that is less of a concern. So my work surface is already protected with this wonderful IKEA shower curtain. But I'm adding plastic wrap because after we stamp our blank, we're going to want to wrap it up and steam it. And so although I'm using food coloring today, all of these techniques should translate really well with other acid dyes. Food coloring is an acid dye. It just happens to be one that is food safe. And so, yeah, you want to add sprinkles to one of your dyed blanks. Should I do it after it cools down and wait and add it when it's dry? If you want to add sprinkles to a blank, what I would do is when I've been dyeing with sprinkles, I will pre-soak the yarn, maybe not remove quite as much water because you need some water for the sprinkles to dissolve. And then I would pre-soak the yarn in a vinegar solution, add the sprinkles, and then microwave or steam it. And so that's what I would do. Did you buy my yarn from Knit Picks? Yes. There is a link to the Stroll sock blanks that are identical to this one that I just pre-soaked in the video description. And I am a Knit Picks affiliate, but I've been using their yarns for years and years and years before I became an affiliate in October. I just now get some commission when I refer a sale. So that also helps fund all of these wonderful, wonderful videos that you enjoy. But Stroll is one of my favorite yarn bases to use anyway. So I was thinking I wanted to go and grab, okay, so I'm just going to set this out. No problem. If you have a Sharpie marker handy, you could do a spot, see if the Sharpie is color fast. So the thing with Sharpies, and I don't know about heat, if heating that would help, is that I've made t-shirts with Sharpies, and some of it has lasted a while, but some of it with one of my Tide skating pods, all of the Sharpie basically came out. So that's one reason why I'm a little hesitant to do some dyeing Sharpie. So what I'm doing right now is I'm filling the pre-soak bath that I used was old, and so I don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure it was 3 tablespoons of vinegar. And that's what I'm planning to do again, but I'm just setting one up to pre-soak the 2 dry blanks that I showed you at the beginning of the stream. Figured I'd get this started. So these are the 2 dry blanks that I'm now going to go pre-soak in some water with 3 tablespoons, as soon as I find my vinegar, of white vinegar. Now you could start, I think you could start with dry yarn with this, especially if you mixed, sorry, I'm counting, 1, 2, 3. You could start off with a dry blank for your stamping and stenciling. I just think that it might be a little harder to get the dye from like your brush or however you're applying it to go into the blank. It could bead up. But if you add acid to your dye, then there's no reason why you have to start with the pre-soaked blank. If you watched the striping video yesterday, you saw some really cool stuff with when we added on, say, some of the violet. So we're going to start off with Wilton's violet. But you could see that when I did a stripe, the pinks kind of stayed placed, but the blues spread out. So I think that we could get some really cool halos from stenciling with Wilton's violet. And so I plan to, with this stencil, We're going to mix. So I've got some of this Wilton's Violet that was a half teaspoon in a half cup of water that we mixed a couple days ago. But I'm also going to mix some using our guar gum solution with a similar concentration of dye. And so I think we'll try like one bird with one and one with the other and see what happens. Oh, you have to heat set Sharpie? If the liquid isn't clear after microwaving and cooling on a sock blank, does that mean you didn't heat it enough? Or it may not be that it wasn't heated enough. It may be that there was not enough acid. So if it was boiling when you took it out, yeah, so there's probably enough heat. You might try adding some more vinegar, and that would help. But it also depends on your fiber type of it. So if you're doing, at some point you can have too much color that some of it might not absorb. Is there any way to stop the food color out of a failed blank? Could it be bleached? So white yarns are technically bleached. I have no experience bleaching yarn and don't really have any recommendation for that, except that the reason why bare yarns that are used start off in sort of this off-white color versus pure white is that the bleaching can damage the fibers a bit. So, okay, I am gonna actually, I was gonna run upstairs and grab another bare blank, just in case. Because I want to get another one pre-soaking. Okay, sorry about that. I ran upstairs to grab one more homemade blank. This one isn't flat. This one was done in the round. It is also wool of the Andes, but I figured I'd get it pre-soaking just in case we decided that we wanted to try something else on bare yarn before we try to over dye the other blanks that I have pre-soaking. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, not recommend bleaching because it only risks damaging your fibers. If you've only soaked with food coloring or acid dyes, you can soak in hot water with lots of soap. Yes. So these aren't wool, but these are the rags that I used in yesterday's live stream. I think they might be cotton, but they had a lot of dye on them, and I just rinsed them in hot water with some soap. Yes, but overall, if you aren't happy with colors you get, I also recommend over dyeing. Okay, so let's make, I probably should have done this before. Okay, you can see me there. Before I set up our blank, but let's make our Wilton's Violet solution. Oh yeah, I can tell that that's, I don't know if you guys can really tell, but this is definitely more viscous than water. So that's good. That means that it worked, right? And I'm now going to add, I'm going to have another cup on hand for this. I'm going to add so I just added a 1/4 cup of our guar gum solution to this cup. And I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of Wilton's Violet. So that way this is approximately the same concentration as, ooh, that purple is looking really pretty. Probably because of the white that's in there. Oh, and I'll put on gloves at some point. It's hard to see. There's still a lot of dye on the spoon, so this will just take a bit of time. Okay. Where is, But yeah, so I have other things too and other ideas that we'll do on this test blank. Like I have one stamp right here that at some point we'll paint and then see, you know, if we can get stamping to work. But I also have some different cookie cutters. So some with just, you know, and I'd be using the wrong side, so the thick metal edge, say on here, or this thick rubber brim on the pumpkin as stamps. I got a package of stamps from the dollar store, and so it's just a sponge to play around with. And I plan to apply the dye to the stencils or anything else with foam brushes, just craft store foam brushes. We can see when you place the cup down, it looked jiggly. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, it feels, come on. There we go. I always forget to start with warmer water when I'm dissolving these icing colors. This is why I've been using the Colorite system more in the live streams. It's just because it's a little faster to mix the colors. Normally, if I'm doing another video, I just sort of set the spoon in and leave it in there for a little while. But here is the other violet without the guar gum. And I did write on this cup with a Sharpie so that way I can tell the two cups apart. Because I figured that would be helpful. Okay. But I will use a separate brush in each one. And I also have a basin of water nearby so that way I can pop stencils in there to sort of rinse them off as needed. It's being a little stubborn. I don't have a good toothpick handy. Okay, but there's definitely a lot of color in here. I've been saving sort of a lot of the remnant colors that have been in brushes. And right now it's very brown, but I've been saving a lot of stuff so that way we can use. But I also want to try potentially painting straight from a vial of icing color. And, oh yes, isn't it? I just got a comment on the reuse of these Medela bottles. Yes, our bottle days are long gone, but I have a lot of little bottles around the house. So I wanted some little containers that are easy to pour from and was like, aha! Okay, so I'm getting impatient. There we go. Come on out. Okay, there's still, I don't know how well you can see because there's still like a coating. I definitely have at least 1/8 of a cup dissolved in there so far, but I'm itching to get started. And since, well, normally on Wednesdays I have a little more time, but I don't today because Lucas can't go to dance class until his shoulder heals. So, all right, let's try. Okay, I had that facing already, but I'm going to have it move the birds this way. And I think I'm going to try this lower. Well, this is up because that's the top of the birds. You can probably barely see the stencil on here. Oh, you can kind of see it. Okay, but let's go for it. So first, right now, I just dipped my foam brush into the, oh geez, I hope I keep this straight. I dipped it in to the water that only contains the violet, no guar gum at all. And I'm just sort of patting this over the stencil. And I can see beneath it already, things are definitely spread out. The question to me is if it's blue spreading out or if I'm seeing, you know, everything spreading out underneath it. Okay, and so let's try, this is our guar gum mixture, and ooh, it's kind of, looks a little bit like Jello or something sort of coating this. It feels different. Let's do these branches. Figure this will give us a really nice, hopefully I didn't move these around too much. Da-da-da-da! All right. So we can see the difference, and I'm sticking this in some water to just rinse it off before we try again. So there is a clear difference between, let me see if I can zoom in a bit for you guys. Oh, come on, glove. Okay, clearly my trackpad. Let's zoom in and see. Oh, and pan. There we go. So you can tell which stencil was which bird, right? I don't think, oh, I can pan up and down. Cool, okay. So there I am, nice and zoomed in. Now, there was more definition in the stencil than we could really get on the top one that had the guar gum, but you can see how much more the colors. I guess the pinks aren't showing up quite as much, but we're getting this blue halo around the lower bird that did not have any thickener. So while this was maybe not enough to keep those really, really thin lines like clear and distinct, you can tell that it's a bird over a branch right here, whereas this one is a lot more deformed. And so that is pretty cool, if I do say so. Is this on the back? I don't really want to move it around too much, but we can. Yeah, there's good penetration through the blank. There's nice penetration. This would be a good technique to use on a lake picture of liquid with the reflection. Ooh, upside down. Yeah, you could totally take advantage of this to get something sharper and something more spread out. So I don't know if using more guar gum would really help. I mean, clearly right here, the other thing that's big is there's a lot more breaking of color going on here without the guar gum than there is over here. There's still a hint of a blue halo, but this could be the way if you wanted to hand paint like a purple stripe and have it stay purple. Actually, let's try that out. Maybe I will just zoom out a bit. Nope, that's in. Zoom out a bit. Okay, this is fun. Okay, let's go ahead and do stripes with each of these colors. So this right now is the guar gum. And this is just the Wilton's Violet. And both are applied with foam brushes. I think that if I were to apply them, and maybe we'll play around with squeeze bobbles in a little bit, already you can see some of the breaking here on the stripe with no guar gum. I think that if we were to, but the lines, so even with the breaking, we see again, the line is sharper than the spread that we're getting. Oh, that is cool. That is really, really cool. Okay, I'm getting all excited. Yeah, the guar gum. Oh, you found some at your. Yeah, I had no idea what it was really when I was first looking for it, but you can find it even potentially at some Whole Foods as well. So this is really, really fun. Okay, let's try doing some other little techniques. Okay, I want to try doing a stamp with this heart that I made. And I'm going to use the same one, but I'm first going to go into, going to sort of attempt, this might use up a lot of this. I'll have to squeeze it back in there. Okay, so I just stamped it in the sort of lightly pressing it down. That one had no guar gum. Let's do, okay, I'm going to be off screen if I do it there, so I'll do one up here. You can see the breaking on the back of the sponge. It's kind of cool. Will I be able to squeeze out any? Yeah, squeezing out the excess back into the cup. For science, right? Okay, so both of those, now I'm rinsing. I mean, I'm not going to be able to rinse out everything because sometimes purples tend to stick to sponges, but it was just sitting there sort of staring at me, so I had to try. Because I'm also enjoying watching the colors spread out. So I think that if you wanted to do stamping with bigger shapes, the guar gum won't make as much of a difference. I mean, okay, it will make a difference in the sharpness of everything that you see, but it won't make a difference in the sense that you can still tell that we have a heart shape. Okay, so this time, since there's more of this in here, I'm going to kind of paint this on. Oh, you can't. Okay, so I'm using the foam brush and I'm just painting. I don't really want to drip on the blank, but I'm painting it on. Sort of thickly painting it onto the sponge. And now we are going to try. Again, I'm sort of pressing it down. Whoop. Woo! I'm going to, since there's less liquid in here this time because I'm painting on, I am going to add some more before I stamp again because I don't think, whoops. Okay. That's pretty. Okay, now because I'm curious, let's do one more heart right here. I'm curious if there's enough left to do one more. Oh, that's a nice paler one. That's pretty. I wish that the pinks were showing up better for all of you today. I'm grabbing a plate. I made like a wash spot for some of the stencils, but I don't want to put too much food coloring in it, which the sponge has a lot. So far, this is really, really fun. The color even looks different. So yes, the color does look a little bit different, and that's because the blues, if you think about it, both of them started off as purple, but this one is more red because the blues are spreading away more from the center. And I think that they will continue to do a bit of that as well. What's funny is, I guess I'm starting to see a tiny bit of breaking there. But again, with the foam brushes, like it makes a really big difference, but things aren't so bad without. Let's zoom back out. Oh. I gotta get my tilt and pan back. Aha, this way you can see more of it. Was your white? I guess I didn't really see the white question. So it's gotten more opaque as the bubbles have stepped. Like it's now translucent. I'm sorry, less opaque. It's more translucent than it was at the beginning. All right. So let's see what else we can do. So another idea I had for stencils was to try using a cookie cutter as a stencil. But actually, I kind of first want to try, oh no. Okay, so I wanted to try to see if I could use it as a stamp as is, but unfortunately, the liquid doesn't really stick to the sort of rubber spot. So what I'm going to do instead is use it as a stencil. And I'm going to put this cookie cutter, I'm going to put this side down over here. So first, again, I'm going to do one without guar gum. And the nice thing about this like big flat rubber part to here is that unlike the bird stencil, this one I can really press down into the fabric, which was something that I couldn't do last time. Oh, that's awesome. Do you see the halo around that? That is so cool. And now I can just wipe it off quickly. And let's do another pumpkin. Let's go below. Okay, this is our guar gum glop. And again, I'm pushing down really hard. So the guar gum, it feels less like food coloring and it feels more like thinned out paint, I guess is how I would describe it. There is our second pumpkin, which I guess I sort of made a little mistake, but I guess that's a lot of examples on how we have a difference with the breaking that we see on these. Now, I sort of want to do, the xanthan gum. I have no idea what the difference is between them, and I see some chatter. You guys are talking about where you might find it in the supermarkets. Okay, I really, really want to try the DNA. I guess first I really should try it with the guar gum. And then maybe I'll try down somewhere else without. Oh no, I can do half and half. I have very little of just the Wilton's Violet left. So I think I'm going to go sort of here in the middle to try to do the negative space of the DNA with no I'm adding some shapes coming out. Okay, so that was with no guar gum, and this cup is now about empty. Now let's try our guar gum Wilton's Violet for the rest of, oh no, I got a drop. The rest of the stencil. So this is the one that Erin from I Can Craft That made me, which I think is totally awesome. I think I need to like make a new ChemKnits logo blank if this works nicely. Okay. Yeah, you really can feel a color difference between them. But I can start to see what I should take a picture of this before I remove it. I can start to see what I was hoping for. I'm getting really excited. I'm getting really, really excited. Okay. All right. And da-da-da. Okay, how do I? Da-da! That is cool. Okay, so clearly here I pushed a little too much because I was a little excited and going a little fast. But look, you can see those lines of the DNA. This is amazing. This is absolutely, absolutely incredible. So in this section where you can see the blue in the middle, that's where I used the Wilton's Violet with no guar gum. And even I can see some definition in the lines. They are more blue and less pink, even though it has sort of spread out. But look at how sharp that is. That is incredible. The spikes make it look like a virus. Ooh. Okay, so let me see if I can zoom in on that. I'm like learning how to use all these features. Oh, wrong way. Okay. There. Now you can see a bit better. So you can see that we got some really sharp lines from the guar gum. And yeah, it's great that some people got snow because of the snow dyeing videos that were up. But this, I'm so, so excited by this negative space stencil, which I think was, I don't know if it was laser cut. I'm assuming it was laser cut, maybe out of a transparency or something. It's just thin plastic, but you could do some really, really epic stuff to make your own blanks. Wow. Excuse me, I have some that would just do the DNA shape that I will play around with in a bit. But I am so excited. Okay, let's try, I'll zoom back out. Okay, I'm also really excited that I figured out how to like zoom and pan and stuff, so this way I can give you a closer look of some of the awesomeness. Oops, there we go. Nope. All right, let's try. Okay, I do want to try something a bit different. So I'm going to get a paintbrush out. And I've got this TIE fighter. Oh, you can't see. I've got this TIE fighter. Because TIE fighter clearly go with birds, right? And so I'm going to go get an old vial of Wilton's Violet. And this is a vial that is almost empty and I just saved. And I saved it because, you know, I could use the excess dye for something. But what I'm doing right now, so clearly this has no guar gum or anything in it, but I am literally painting the food coloring and it's beading up a little bit. So it's not staying on the surface perfectly. So I might have to go and touch that up as I'm going, but I'm painting a very thin layer onto this TIE fighter. Can I just giggle about the fact that I'm using a TIE fighter right now? Yeah, so this blank, it's funny, this blank is sort of like our test blank to see what we love, what we don't love, and then I'm probably going to do a bunch of DNA and birds on those other blanks. But I might do a test 100% wool of the Andes. Okay, so this is, the dye is beading up. It's not staying. I'm quickly going over it, but I'm going to try stamping with concentrated, pure concentrated food coloring. Hey, that worked pretty well, actually. I think this is a sandwich cutter. Let's try a second one to see how, like, the longevity that we get. Interesting. Now, this is really concentrated. So it's possible that when I am all done with everything, that this will need to like have some dye rinse out. But there could be, and the reason why I was thinking about this, let's just take this paintbrush again and do, say, using it to draw a little heart here. So I just got a really, really fine line. And this is just an IKEA, one of their little paint brushes. And so again, you know, this is not very much dye that has gone on here. So it's not like I have a glob of dye, which is something that might show up in a later experiment. But whew, I mean, I could write. You know, I have a video coming out tomorrow, I think, on using food coloring markers, but I think that writing, and I just wrote an R right here, I think writing is actually much easier using the lid to the food coloring. So I'm curious how this will come out after I set the color. But so that is really neither stamping nor stenciling. But since I had the paintbrush, I was curious. And where, I'm going to set these down over, oh, let's try stamping with like an actual stamp. I'm not sure. Okay, so if I paint on with, all right, so I've painted this on actually kind of thicker. And so there's some all around it. So I don't think that this will work that well because I think, yeah, you kind of, I got all a little too much. Maybe I think that if you wanted to try to do like a stamp, what I'm having trouble is getting the food coloring to stay sort of where I wanted it to. It's sort of going in between, you know, it's not sticking, probably because it's not. Oh, what if I did like this? It's like I needed an ink pad. Yeah, it's not really staying. Yeah, I can't really see a discernible paw print over there. But the using the really thick paint, because I was like, why do you need a thickener if these food coloring vials are already pretty thick to begin with? But that is cool. This is really cool. Okay, why don't we do, okay, I'm gonna dry off, where are my paper towels? I'm gonna dry off and I think I'm gonna do another bird down here. I am so curious how all of this is gonna wash and everything like that. This I think is just awesome. So I placed my bird stencil that I used already into just some plain water. And I'm patting it dry with a paper towel because I know that too much extra water will sort of can cause things to bleed a bit more. So I'm going to just add this down here and see, I feel like I'm refining my technique a bit. So again, this is our guar gum solution. But what we can do after this is we can test, whoops, I went out of the stencil bit. We can test, we can do some other colors, maybe test some really concentrated colorite colors and have some fun. But I think that I might want to test okay, so I'm going lightly on this versus pushing down really hard. And so let's see. Ha! Okay, so we got a little bit of the chickadee, sort of the chickadee line that goes across them, which I actually, oh dear. Okay. I actually don't care for a ton, so I'm gonna, oh no, that's thick. Ha! That was a really thick part that I just kind of put on there. And it's funny, I didn't really care for that line, so I got rid of it, which you can do if you've got the stuff to do it. And again, just popped it into the water. But I'm gonna, still have this spot up here. Ooh, I have these stencils too. Before I come down and like chat and think about what we're gonna do next, let's just play with these stencils I took from Lucas. Oops, I went outside the stencil. See, I haven't done a lot of stenciling, but this was also after the last soft blank special, something that was really requested. What? How did I get? Oh, there's some marker on it. Okay, so you can see some pink and a little green in there. That's probably gonna, ooh, I don't know if that'll come off. I don't know if it was washable markers that were used with the stencil before or not, but some of that sort of bled onto there, but that was just some fish. I just didn't want to have a big white spot up there. But the real thing, I guess, the takeaway from this before I wrap it up is that using this guar gum can really help you get better defined lines. If we compare these two stripes to one another, one of them is really significantly sharper than the other. So if you wanted to hand paint specific colors and not have them bleed and minimize breaking, I mean, I think this might be the first time I've really hand painted with non-broken Wilton's Violet food coloring. So I think that using this thickener is pretty awesome. But I am really, again, really excited by this DNA. It's very ChemKnits. And I'm taking some pictures right now, so that way when I do the recap, I can sort of insert this in. But because when I'm doing the recaps, I want to show what things look like before I steam them, because I can't really show that in the end. But I will, okay, I'm going to roll this up, and we can also, as I'm rolling it, see how the color penetration is. So the pumpkins were pretty good. The hearts that I did with the sponge were medium. See, our stamped TIE Fighter is sort of breaking towards the back. That'll be cool. That would be really cool when it's unraveled. The birds have medium penetration. And the DNA has some nice penetration of color. Okay. I don't want to squeeze this too much or anything. I don't want to affect the way that our colors are. But as now, I've already had the stove on, so my steamer basket was already hot and nice and steamy. So that was just wrapped up. And now, oh, I did get a little color in my finger. Oh, I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. And then come down and chat with all of you. Okay. So I'm okay with that. And here I am. So now I can go through the comments a bit because it's hard. Oh, I can also, given that there isn't much interesting to look at up there, I can just make myself bigger. Can you review how you mix the guar gum solution once more? Absolutely. I mixed a 1/4 teaspoon of the guar gum powder in 8 ounces of water. So 8 ounces of water is about 1 cup. And then I put that in the magic bullet just to mix it up. So that way it would be, that way, yeah, it would just help it dissolve. It would be faster than me using a spoon. Oh, thanks for stopping in. That's awesome. Let's see. It's the heat from the steam. When you steam on the stove, does the water in the pot need vinegar? No. When you're steaming on the stove top, it just, sometimes you can add some salt to make it like really steamy, but I just use plain water in the pot. And so it's the heat there that's setting it. You actually don't get a lot of transfer of liquid from the water that's being steamed and your dye. Very occasionally will I see some color in the water down below, but I think it depends on sort of what I'm putting in the steam basket and, you know, if I wrapped it up or not. Let's see. If you use a shallow dish for the stamp, a shallow dish might have helped with that rubber stamp, but I think that for stamping with the really liquid food coloring, because it's, maybe if you used more guar gum so it was thicker so it would sort of stay, but with the rubber stamps it was sort of, I don't know what is in like the stamp pads. I don't know if there's alcohol or something makes it not bead up on the stamp when you're using it, or if it's just less wet. I don't really know, but the stenciling is going pretty well. You post pumpkins remind me of the conversation bubbles. Oh, that would be funny. Oh yeah, the Bob. Someone shared a Bob Ross inspired blank that they painted, like, you know, Drew painted. I think, yeah, in the ChemKnits Lab Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the group, you should come join us. It's the group's called ChemKnits Lab. It's a group for fans of ChemKnits, and people are sharing their own dyeing adventures, and it's a lot of fun. Just please make sure, like, even just put knitting or yarn. You don't need to write a long answer to the membership questions. It just makes it easier for me to add you. Because if I don't see something obvious that indicates fiber-based interest, whether knitting, crochet, dyeing yarn, even sewing, if I don't see something obviously like that on your profile, then I can't add you to the group. But again, you don't even have to be doing the crafts, you just have to have an interest in it to join. Yeah, I'm glad that some people have some snow because the snow dyeing video came out this morning. So that is a lot of fun. I guess now that I'm down here sort of chatting with you guys before we do some of the other blanks, for those of you that don't know, My hands actually don't have a lot of time. They just look color. For those of you that don't know, I'm Rebecca from ChemKnits. I run this channel, and right now we are in the middle of a sock blank special week where we are dyeing a lot of different kinds of knit and crochet blanks, both single-stranded, double-stranded, but it's yarn that's in fabric form of some kind. So then we can dye it and then unravel it to use the yarn for other projects. And this is something that is really fun to do with, we've tried crochet blanks, and I think I'm going to have some major unraveling-a-thon at some point. Not tonight or tomorrow, and I don't know, maybe sometime this weekend or next week is when I'll be able to unravel a lot of these blanks. But I'm also working on doing recaps from each of the live streams so that way you can see the finished dried blank, because I know sometimes the resolution isn't great from the videos, and so that way that is there. But the blank I just dyed was a Knit Picks blank, not one that I made. It was a double-stranded blank, and if you want to get one for yourself, there's a link in the video description for that. Oh, more comments. Yesterday you mentioned drop size and viscosity, so you think it's not viscosity, but surface tension. Thank you. That's the word. It's the surface tension was too high still with the water and the guar gum for on the stamp. Yeah, my husband is a mechanical engineer, and he teaches fluids. So you would think that I would have some of this down a little better than I do. Oh dear. Yeah. So thank you, Margaret. Yeah, this is grabbing a beverage, all really fun. I think that I'm tempted to quickly to play around with this guar gum on the 100% wool blank that has nothing on the background yet before going to the ones that I want to over dye. But I was wondering if you guys had any suggestions for color or colors that I should try to do. I want the colors to be dark and concentrated, but on the plain blank actually we could play around with some paler tones and sort of do color mixes. I'm really excited to play with these DNA patterns more, and I'm actually curious about the other plain blank I just put in. It was one that I did in the round on one of the Singer knitting machines. So that blank, it's a single-stranded blank, but I'm curious if when I'm using the guar gum and like stenciling, if it'll go through to the other side, or if say I'm doing, colors maybe would break going to the other side. And so there are some things that, maybe we wouldn't be able to see all the answers to that today, but it'll be pretty fun. But while I'm going to take a brief water beverage break. So I am going to send you guys to a brief commercial break. But while some of you are watching a commercial, add to the chat the colors that you think that I should do, that we should mix, that we should try, and yeah, we'll mix up some colors and then start stamping, or I guess more stenciling at this point. We'll start stenciling this other blank that I've got. So yeah, but as you put down those comments, I am going to insert a commercial right now. Which of course, because there's a delay, the commercial might have been inserted before I said right now, so I'm still not really sure how the timing of all that works. But if you don't see a commercial, don't worry. Not everyone sees them. But they thank you for watching them. They do help fund all of this, so I have the materials. Okay, I see some requests for bright green and teal. In gluten-free cooking, we use guar gum as a thickener and xanthan gum and cornstarch. Could you use those as well? I imagine that you could use cornstarch. I don't see why that would be much of an issue. I think that yeah, I haven't tried them, so I haven't done a lot of research. This is my first time using guar gum at all, and you can see that bag that I have, which I think a link to the exact one I'm using is in the video description because I found it on Amazon. I actually got it subscribe and save. But that's enough to last me, I think, a lifetime. lime green, teal, and gray. So I think I'm going to be using the Wilton Colorite System colors. In part, ooh, man, there's so many things I'm kind of curious about doing. It just occurred to me that you would do a really cool plaid effect using the guar gum. Yeah, it would be really cool because things wouldn't spread out as much. Actually, using the paintbrush with straight food coloring would also be really cool for doing a really nice plaid because you could really get a really thin line going down. Yeah, there's a lot of, I did a commercial break so I could drink, and instead I've been chatting instead of drinking. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, lime green, teal, gray. I definitely still have some purple. Okay, we'll go. Sitting's nice. I'll stand up in a second to mix up some colors for our next blank. But this one is fun, everyone. This I was kind of I got so many questions about guar gum, and honestly I was a little like, nah, I don't know. I was unsure, but man, when I put my hands up, they really look like they have color on them. But I think it's just the color balance is really off. It keeps distracting me. I feel like, but I was kind of meh about it as an idea, but then more and more people kept asking, and I was like, well, maybe I should look into this a bit more. I don't know. Now we'll see how it is, how noticeable it is when I wash the blank and what there is, if I feel like there's any left in after. But given that this is a technique that a lot of dyers use, I'm assuming that it should be fine. Cornflower blue. So, but I'm gonna, so I'll pull out the color mixtures. I do think that a navy is a really fun idea. I had what was the mixture that I used? I'll have to look and see some of the colors I mixed yesterday. The guar gum you ordered is 1 kilogram. I think that the one that I have is just 8 ounces, so half a pound. No, there's 2.2 pounds per kilogram. Okay, I had to stop and think about my conversions for a minute. More pink like yesterday. Pink would be really easy to do. Okay, awesome. I am going to turn my face off and stand back up. Okay. I'm going to bring my notebook up so I can keep track. Okay. So I think, can I see comments down there? Okay. And I might sneeze again. I'm like having, excuse me. Excuse me. I've been having like these sneeze attacks lately. And I'm not really sure what has brought all of it on. Maybe it's this fake spring that we've got in Massachusetts right now. Okay, do I have, since we got a lot of different color requests, I'm wondering, aha, I do have 1/8 of a cup measuring cup. I had only mixed 1 cup's worth of the, you can see there's a glob there. Oh, this is nice, and you can really get a sense as I pour it how thick it is. Okay, so I just added 1/8 of a cup of the guar gum to three different cups, and let's see. Oh no, I have my gloves over here. And oh, thank you. You mix guar gum into your smoothies? Oh, to use it up. Plaids would be fun. I'm not going to be doing plaids today because I'm still kind of focused on doing the stencils. But don't worry. I made more blanks than I have, I have way more blanks in my stash than I have so many blanks in my stash. Plenty. So that way, even after the stock blank special week is over, I will still be doing a lot of dyeing. So I did, what did I do? I did 1/4 teaspoon. And then I did 1/4 cup of that, plus 1/4 teaspoon violet. Just start writing this down. So I'm going to do, I heard a call for the pink like yesterday. So in here, I'm going to do 3 drops. 3 drops. Oh, that looks so cool. This is 3 drops of the Color Right pink, which is only red number 3. Sort of want to do a black. Oh, that's brown. Let's make it dark. So that's 6 drops of black in, this is in 1/8 of a cup of our guar gum solution. And I'm going to mix more than just like 3 colors so I can get more. Okay, so I heard teal. I think that they had a good recommendation for teal. The reason why I'm not just straight mixing blue and green here, yeah, so their recipe for teal is 6 drops of blue, 1 drop of yellow. Because if you did, but let's see if we can do a teal and a lime and get something that's like a lime green as well. This is again 1/8 a cup of our thickened solution. If you're just joining in, I'm playing with using guar gum for the first time as a thickener, so that way we can get some really sharp definitions of color on the yarn that we're dyeing. But I'm going to test out, just the last one we did was a superwash blend, so I'm going to test out something that isn't in just a moment. So I didn't want to quite do, let's try 1 drop of yellow. And let's do 3 drops of blue. This is really pretty. Okay, that's actually kind of a nice teal. It's dark. This Color Right system, the colors are very dark, but what's kind of nice about this time is when I'm swirling around, we're getting a coating on the side, which sort of is giving me a sense of the color. And so that was, 3 blue, 1 yellow. Let's do 1 blue. And this is where it's going to be harder. So that was 1 drop of blue. See if I even do 3 drops of yellow. 2, 3. I mean, these food colorings are thick enough that I wonder what would happen if I was going to try to paint directly. So the 3 drops of yellow, and this is not towards a lime green yet. It's more of like a grass green. So let's do 4, 5, 6 and see where we get. I'm going to make this pink more intense too, I think, because all these other colors are pretty dark. It's not going to, the pink won't feel as dark as these other colors just because, 4, 5, 6, because as far as it goes, there's a lot less food coloring involved in being pink than there is to get something like a red or a blue, because pink sort of is even a bright pink is sort of a paler color in general. Don't mind, not just some spluttering. Okay, so we've got some colors. I don't have a good blue, but yeah, I think that this should be pretty nice. A nice starting point, and we can always mix some other colors when we can mix up some more as needed. Okay, well, I'm going to be putting down some plastic wrap, but okay, so again, before I put down plastic wrap, I need to sort of wring out, oh, I should rinse, I've got pink on my fingers. not good. Didn't want to reach into my pre-soak and grab out some wet and like get the dye on the transfer. Do you have any cosmetic sponges in your stash? You could have more control if you dab in the color and pat on the shallow lid of some kind. Oh, the ones I have, I don't know if I have any high quality ones. I have some somewhere. I don't know where. Some fresh. I'll look in my stash for some of those, but I'm actually going to even write that down in my notebook about makeup sponges. Yeah, because that could be even better control than the foam brushes. That's a really nice idea. Okay, so this blank right here is 100% worsted weight wool. It is a Wool of the Andes blank that I made on my Singer knitting machine, and it was knit in the round. So there are 2 layers of fabric here, and I just pre-soaked it in some water and where are my tongs? Maybe in the dishwasher. Aha! Found the tongs. Okay, so I pre-soaked this blank in some tap water with 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. Or sorry, 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. And ow. Okay, so I just finished steaming this. I sort of want to flip it over so you can see. Check that out. I don't know what. Oh, that was my DNA. Okay, that's the DNA that we're seeing that had a lot of bleeding. I was like, I don't know what happened there. But so this we'll let cool off, and at the end of the stream, I'll see if I can unwrap that. But otherwise, it'll be in a recap. But I want to remove as much of the liquid as I can, which is why I'm using my OXO salad spinner here and trying to not take off this anything off of here. Okay, so I do need to put some plastic wrap down so that way after we do some stencils on this, we can pull it back up. So obviously my surface is already protected, but what I am moving all of this so that way I can wrap up the yarn and put it in the steamer basket on the stovetop. You could also microwave. I just think that and microwaving is frequently my preference with hand painting, but it's not difficult for me to have the steamer basket going when I'm doing all of this dyeing. So it sort of made sense for what we're doing. And plus, the reason why I'm doing it that way, I could get some more water out of this actually. The other reason why I'm doing it this way is that if I was using acid dyes, I prefer to use the steamer basket to the microwave, which I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with using the microwave, but since I use, with my acid dyes, all dedicated equipment, like I don't have a dye-only salad spinner right now, but all of these techniques should translate beautifully to commercial acid dyes. So, okay, so this is a little thin because there we go. This is a little thin just because it, doesn't have very many stitches that go around. But I think, okay, let me move this up so that way I'm making sure that it's all on camera. Let's see if this will fit on here. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is another one of the DNA stencils that I got from I Can Craft That. Oh. All right, let's start with some black. So this is the guar gum I have a tiny bit, maybe not. I don't really have any food coloring left that is that does not have the guar gum in it. Oops. Okay, I think I want to paint this way, kind of across these bars. I'm pretty new to stenciling in general, so this is all a very big learning process for me. But I'm curious, and this is something that we won't really know right away, but I'm curious how much color penetration we'll get to the second side of fabric with these homemade blanks. And let's do some of the teal. Ooh, that is really a really, really pretty color. This is kind of fun. I almost might need to use this, if I get good enough at this, you could do this on stenciling on something that you've already knit. Okay, let's pull that up. Hey, that's not so bad. So even with, and I don't know if you can tell that there are little lines in the backbone, but that still reads as sort of DNA-like to me. That's really, really cool. Right now I'm rinsing off my transparency stencil so that way, you know, we can use it again. I probably could try, oh, I see the black is spreading out a bit. So I know that food coloring sort of sticks a lot faster to superwash yarns, which is why I wanted to sort of come out and try this blank that had non-superwash, but I can still see the lines in there. So the stamping overall still worked. Ooh, and zoomed out, it really looks like DNA. You have a live feed going on Chromecast on your phone, so you don't want to catch from your computer. Oh, cool. So you're watching on the phone and on your phone and the computer. You know, if there's a delay between them, you might be able to try, if you're getting a lot of delay between the two, I would try using, restarting one of the browsers. That might help. So this was, what, we did 6 drops, was it 5 or 6 drops of yellow? I think that's important. Yeah, I did 6 drops of yellow in this one and 1 drop of blue from the Color Right system. And this is my other stencil that gives the color on the negative space. So it'll kind of give us a cool difference. Yeah, but even with the colors spreading out a bit, it's still working nicely. It's possible that when you're going to be doing this, you might want more of the guar gum if you're going to be using you know, 100% wool, or even, I know that food coloring binds slower to, let's get to the side there. Food coloring binds slower on silk and alpaca. So maybe if you're using a fiber that you know takes a little more time in acid, then you might want to, you might want more of the thickener. But hey, that turned out really nice. Huh, that's so cool. I think my favorite is really this this one right here for doing the negative space. And the size of this blank is almost perfect for using this stencil. I'm now, okay, let's do the black with this one again. There's still some of the other, I didn't wash it off this time, so there's some of the other colors around, but this is so cool. I never thought I would be able to draw DNA onto something. Oh man, so I don't know if you guys know, because I know I talk on the channel a lot more about dyeing yarn than I do about the projects that I've knit. But last year I designed a bunch of hats that featured both color work DNA strands and DNA cables for the March for Science. And so I have a lot of free patterns on my site that feature those designs. And so how fun would it be to hand paint yarn with a DNA strand down it and then turn it into a DNA hat? I mean, doesn't that just sound awesome? Okay, so maybe I can just wipe off. Yeah, I could just wipe off the excess dye instead of rinsing it off in between. Oh, funny, did I do? Ah, whoops. Okay, oh, cool. So I picked this up and you can see the wrong side has almost no food coloring in it, which is cool, but I did do, like, I did the other, it's flipped. So this is the back of the side that I was doing with those ones, but I think that's okay. Oh dear, I cannot see. Is guar gum safe for kids to use? Given that it's edible, I believe yes, it's absolutely safe for kids to use. I think this is food grade ingredients that I'm using, so therefore I would be comfortable letting my kids play with it from my kids' health standpoint. From the health of my home, I might be a little more concerned. And by health of my home, I am referring to the mess. I'm all about letting them dye yarn, but I always worry about cleanup. So, okay, this is awesome. I think next time I'm just going to wipe off the excess dye versus sticking it in the water, because getting the excess water off is hard. But let's see if I can do a better job with the negative, sort of the first stencil that isn't as clear. But maybe it has to do with the thickness of the lines that you're going for. I'm sure it does, but let me make sure that if I put this here, it will still be able to see me. Whew, okay, so this, oh, I haven't done the purple yet on here. Okay, I'll try the purple. This is so fun. I have some bigger DNA stencils that I'll probably use if I still have time to over dye the other blanks. If I still have time, then I will do the larger version of the DNA, but the thinner one kind of worked perfectly for these stencils. And then I sort of want to play around with this using more colors at once, but let's see how this went. Okay, so that was better. I think that the less is more when it comes to this, because if you use too much water on the stencil, then you won't get as clear definition in those lines. I wonder if the lines on the other one's beneath it. Since it's clear, it's hard to see. These lines might be a tad bit thinner than the other ones. I'm not really sure. Let's do a rainbow one. Sort of go, well, not entirely a rainbow, but let's go a little random. The nice thing about all this is that we should get very little, unless you go on top of each other, color bleeding between the different colors. But man, if you have someone, oh, purple. It's like if you have someone that can do a stencil for you, you are set. But yeah, even with the 6 drops of yellow, we're still in a very green versus a lime green. Oh, that's cool. That is so cool. We are painting DNA. La 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 la. This is really fun. Okay, this is mostly going to be a DNA, pattern here because that's what I've done. But let's, I'm going to wipe this down, and I'm going to do, I don't think I'm going to bring the birds back out, but I'm going to try using the cookie cutter as sort of a stencil. Okay, I love the patterns that are showing up over there. See if there's any questions. Your son is cooking dinner as you watch this. Oh, awesome. Kids will be messy, thanks. Yeah. Well, mine are 1 and, okay, let's try this dinosaur. Might be a little hard to get the brush into the tail. Shoot. Bummer. Oh, ooh, we can get drops. No, maybe not. We need like a smaller brush, smaller thing for this. Oh, bummer. But, all right, I've got a nice blob. Okay, let's try the heart instead. And again, I think that my brushes might just be a tad. Okay, I can do the heart. So I'm taking this cookie cutter and pressing down hard, but I'm using the wrong side of the cookie cutter. Oh, that worked great. I was using the thicker edge of the cookie cutter to do this. Oh, that's actually really nice. Not that you really see the scalloped edges, but I don't think that that's something that, you know, I think that I'm going to try the pink now. Yeah, I think that the only reason why, I don't know if we could get the scalloped definition, but I think one reason why we're not seeing that is that just the knit stitches in general. But yeah, so you can use cookie cutters as a stencil if you don't have any around. Actually, I do have some food coloring without guar gum in it over here. I have some. Okay, let's do some. This is some teal. This is some Wilton's teal. And I mixed this. Oh, this was a ½ teaspoon of teal food coloring in, how much water? No, sorry, it was a ¼ teaspoon of the Wilton's teal icing color in a ½ cup of water. And so this one does not have any guar gum in it. I also no longer, well, I might have a tiny bit of the violet, but let's try this over here and see what happens if we do. So we can see those two nice defined hearts over there. And again, I'm pressing down as I apply these colors. What's funny is since the liquid food coloring is not as thick and my brush started off dry, I'm having to do a little more to get the saturated color. But aha, you can already see the color sort of going outside the edges of the cookie cutter. And let me see if I have enough violet to do that, because breaking with the teal is not as obvious. Oh, I have a few more drops. Let's see if I have enough to do a little heart. But yeah, stenciling is opening a whole new world. If you are painterly challenged, okay, yeah, I don't really have very much in here to do the full violet. Yeah. So this had no guar gum, but I don't think it's something that's really too obvious anyway, because there just wasn't a lot of liquid in that left. But so what I am noticing is here I'm seeing more bleeding in general. So you can see more breaking around the black here. Ooh, ooh, look at the breaking into here from the black. That is really, really, really pretty. We're getting some blues that are coming in through there. Ooh, and a little bit around the other side. That is really, really cool. Yeah, I'm seeing more of a halo over here than I did on the superwash yarn. And I think, again, it's just, you know, the thickeners are helping things keep together, but things, you know, we're getting more of a halo over here with no guar gum than we are, say, on this green right here. But, oh, that's cool. I feel like let's try some quick stripes before. So this one, where did the cup go? Ah, okay, so this I think is just the Wilton's teal, the liquid teal. And here is our thicker guar gum mixture. So painted, you know, about the same thickness, the same way. The lines are a lot sharper when we use the guar gum versus when we don't. So it's just cool. It's so cool. Let's add, I'm almost out of the purple, but I think that is fine. Just adding some color. Cool, I think I'm ready to steam this one. I'm gonna try and heat up again on my steamer. And we'll wrap this up and then we'll start stenciling to over dye on one of our blanks. I'm really, really loving this. I'm enjoying, I think my favorite of the DNA stencils, and I have some bigger ones that I'll try, but I like this one that gives me the negative, or where I'm painting the design is in the negative space, I guess. But I've got some stencils that are even bigger, so I think that might be a little different to play around with. But all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Even the washcloth is pretty, yeah. Maybe put the positive stencil over the negative using a different color. Ooh, that could be fun. But I think I might be more inclined to try that on the superwash at some point. But right now I am just wrapping this up, and so we'll see what kind of colors we got all the way through. So not a lot, actually, but I think that this, oh shoot. Oh well, I forgot to take a picture. Hat. The lid of my steamer is warm. I have to take a picture for the recap. I'll try to grab one off of the stream. So I just put this in the steamer and I'm setting the timer for 20 minutes. So if you are wondering, there's no acid in the food colorings that I'm using. The acid is present in the acid was in the pre-soak. So there is that. And I'm going to come and see. Do you guys have any questions for me? And sit down for a minute. Yeah, that washcloth is really, really pretty. This is really, really, really fun. I am just having so much fun doing this. I never expected that I would enjoy stenciling so much, and now I have an excuse to try to go and get some more. And that would be really, really, really fun. Oh man. I think, okay, I will be right back. I am going to bring this over here and see how warm this is still. Here we're still pretty warm, but ooh, you can see the DNA still stayed. I'm opening that up so it can cool off a little bit while I sit down for a break. But I'm going to take a sip of water and stuff, and I'm going to send you guys to a brief commercial break. And I think that this time it should happen, unless you're watching on a delay, it should probably happen around now when I've said it, because of the way that the delay is. So I'm sort of watching on the preview as I sit and sip my water for my head to pop back up to do that. The delay is, probably at least 30 seconds. I think it has to do with my internet connection. But I really appreciate all of your support and you guys watching these commercials in the middle. This all helps fund all the materials and everything so I can do these streams and have a lot of fun. Okay, now, right now, just so you know, is when I actually pushed the insert add button. Do you have any plans for the back of the DNA blank? No, I left that white. I'm curious to see how much color goes through, if we end up with speckles over there, or what. This was just kind of a, how deep of penetration do we get from the different techniques? And this is something that, when I film the recap with the washed and dried blank, something that I will go through in that as well and take a close look at what we got. But so in addition to putting up with the ads and stuff that I have to play during these streams to help support the channel, if you look at the bottom of the chat, there is a $sign. And so you could do something called a super chat, which not only lets your chat message be highlighted in the chat box, but it also, the money that you get goes to me and helps fund all of this wonderfulness that we do. And so it's not usual, if you're new to watching me, I don't normally do live streams every day. This is a special Sock Blank special week. It's a dye-along. In the ChemKnits Lab group on Facebook, people are dyeing their own sock blanks, the commercial blanks from Knit Picks, and homemade blanks. And I have videos on how to make your own blanks, and then a lot of non-live stream videos on ways to dye blanks. But clearly, this stenciling that we're doing today is going to need to make an appearance in the future. And so I think that I'm going to need to make, I'll have to dye like a new splash. Excuse me, I have something in my eye. For the top of the ChemKnits page. And so I think that would be really, really, really fun to do. So thank you guys for all of your support. And please also give the video a like. And if you haven't already subscribed to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel, please subscribe as well. If you want notifications of when I do new live streams, you can turn on notifications for that. But you can also be a follower and turn off notifications so you don't get a message to your phone to remind you that I'm going live. But normally I try to do a live stream at least once a week. But I do always have pre-filmed videos that come out on Tuesday morning Eastern time and Friday morning Eastern time. So that's kind of what I do. And and who I am, and I am getting a little more caffeine. And I think we're ready to start over dyeing one of the blanks that I showed you at the very beginning. So I'm going to bring that back up and make my little face go away. But I'm still here. You guys are awesome. You make what I do a lot of fun. Okay, there's still 14 minutes on the timer. You are still warm. I'm going to set you aside, and I think I want to do the homemade blank first. So I love the commercial Knit Picks blanks. I call them a commercial blank because they are machine knit versus being hand, I still used a hand crank knitting machine, but that took manual. So I need to turn this so I can see real time what's going on. Again, I pre-soaked this blank that I dyed on Monday in some water with 3 tablespoons of vinegar, so there's acid in it again. Now, in theory, you could dye a blank, however you want, and then it'll already have vinegar in it from the dyeing, and so then you could stamp directly onto that. But I wanted to film for the recap of this yarn. I wanted to let it dry, so I went ahead and washed and dried it. But that is not something that is necessary at all. Here's my plastic wrap. Yeah, so it's a lot of these things are just a matter of preference. I've actually used the fact of dip dyeing or kettle dyeing as a way to add acid to the yarn in order to do something with the dye, with food coloring after the fact. But it's really just up to you it's a matter of personal preference. Some people like to add the acid the vinegar directly to the dyes themselves, which the only reason why I don't do that myself, whoop, this guy needs to go into the, this is why I wear gloves. And of course, I'm still wiping this up without wearing gloves. If you're curious, because I've been using the same tablecloth thing for the last few days, if you do, you wipe it down with like a Clorox wipe that takes off the food coloring that has dried on really nicely. All right, I was losing my train of thought. So I really enjoy the commercial Knit Picks blanks. And I even ordered a 20-pack of it because you get, if at Knit Picks you order any of the bare yarns in bulk, you get a 15% savings. So that's beneficial if you're making a mess or doing a lot of dyeing, like I do. But you can also buy them individually, and there's a link to the individual blank in the video description. And I am a Knit Picks affiliate, so I do get credit for the sale, which is awesome. But I've been using these yarns for years before I joined the marketing program. But the blanks start off as $19.99 as the full price for the blanks, which is something that I know can be prohibitive to people. Because buying the yarn and making a blank yourself can be less of a financial input for something that you are experimenting with. And so that's why I have a couple different hand crank knitting machines that I've had for a while, but this one I made on a loops and threads knitting machine that I got from Michaels. Excuse me. And so this is one that I dyed in the live stream on Monday. I sort of did a tie-dye. I crinkled it up really tight and then used, I think I may just want to use this one. So I crinkled up the blank. I folded it in half and then crinkled it up, and then I dyed half of it in the green and then flipped it over with low immersion, and I flipped it over and did the other half in, well, maybe I threw away my gloves, that's why I can't find them. I dyed the other half in the tan to give us sort of a fun, paler backdrop to do some stenciling. So that is what, and now my plan is to add some DNA to this. I'm going to use, I think, the black, because I think that that'll go nicely with the colorway that I already have going on here. And so if you're just tuning in, this is, how many drops of food coloring? This was 6 drops of the black Color Right food coloring in 1/8 of a cup of the, I used 1/8 of a cup of the guar gum solution, which started off as a quarter teaspoon of the guar gum powder in 8 ounces, which is 1 cup of water. Sorry, I'm getting distracted as I'm trying to talk and dab at the same time. And this stencil was made for me by Erin at I Can Craft That. And that is a beautiful double helix. So I can go back manually, because you can see on here now that there's some dye on it, that there are, that these lines across are connected, so there's little thin lines in here. But, so I could go through and sort of hand paint to close that up. But I think that this bigger scale stencil is really, really, really awesome for what I'm doing. I'm actually going to mix some more black in here. So I'm using another 1/8 of a cup of our guar gum solution, and I'm going to put in 6 more drops of black. Yeah, because we found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The using stencils with thinner lines, even on the superwash, with this proportion of the guar gum, doesn't really work to get the really small definition. At the very beginning of the video, I shared a chickadee stencil, or like a little bird stencil. And so some of those details were too small to really show up. But the rest of this is going great. Yes, this blank I think is really pretty all by itself. And one of the blanks that I did on Monday that initially was, my intent was to stencil on top of it. I was like, okay, this is way too pretty. I'm not doing anything to it. But the reason why I'm still going ahead and doing this is that I wanted to do stenciling on top of something that had some visual interest already. So that way when, rather than being specks of black on white, we'll end up getting specks and splotches of black on this green and brown backdrop. And so I thought that that would be sort of a nice change. Clearly, I did do stenciling on some white, which will look really cool when we unravel it on its own. But this, I'm curious about, okay, so we're getting pretty good color penetration. But the other thing I'm doing here, and the other thing I noticed on the first worsted weight blank that we did, is with this amount of guar gum, we still see some, and this is overhanging the end, so I'm just going to kind of scooch this up and then set this down one more over here. With this amount of guar gum, we still get some bleeding of the black and of the purple on the worsted weight blank. But the bleeding is of, say, the blues. The blues that come at the end versus like the reds. And so I'm curious how black, did you notice that we're hand painting black food coloring, everyone? That's sort of a big deal. So maybe this is a way to minimize breaking using the guar gum. Whoop. Hold on, everybody. Sorry, everyone. Comcast was coming up, and they were like, "You're a Comcast customer," and I'm like, "Nope." So hopefully they're not telling me that there's something wrong with the service. Hopefully it was just a cold call, but I didn't really want to explain. I'm live on YouTube right now, and so this is not a good time to knock on my door all happy, upset my dog. It's like I got blanks to do. Hopefully. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh no. Oh no. But look, I can go in and fix that. This is just pretty as on its own. But man, this is a way. Oh, this is awesome. I am so excited. I am so excited. I think I will probably use this same stencil. And I know I said I wasn't going to put them in the water again, but I am. Oh no, maybe I'll do the birds on the other one. Okay, I just want to do DNA on everything now. Oh man, this is so cool. I am so excited. I think that this is unbelievable. I'm now curious. Well, you guys can still see me, right? So your first time experiment is in the microwave. Ooh, awesome! You forgot to use gloves. It'll come off. You crushed egg dye in tablets and they were mixed up and you put them in a salt shaker. Ooh, yes, definitely post pictures. I'm glad that there's nothing wrong with the video. I was just like, there's a chance that they were coming by to talk to me about a service interruption or something. And, I was like, oh, and I just shooed them away. But, oh, this is cool. This is, now I'm taking pictures for the recap in case something sort of goofy happens while I do that. This is amazing. Amazing. Even though my color balance is not good, this is unbelievable. I am beyond happy right now. I don't think you guys even can understand. Probably because I can't draw very well, and so that's why I would love to be demonstrating some of these like amazing, like I've seen some really beautiful, beautiful things people have painted on blanks. And my hand-drawn artistry skills are, I mean, there's some things I can do. I like to decorate, say, handprint and footprints art, and so I can do some details. I can follow along at a paint night, but I am not very good at, like painting. And the timer will go off in a minute. And yeah, I can see those Comcast guys at my neighbor's house knocking, and they don't even have a truck. They're just sort of going door to door. Again, you would think that if there's going to be a service interruption for doing some work in the neighborhood, that they would send a letter in the mail. So yeah, I have no idea what they're doing, except for maybe some cold calls trying to get people to sign up. So yeah, my excitement's intense. I don't think I'll explode. I forget that, because these chats are coming in, I forget that there's a bit of a delay. So that you guys see me on sort of like an off time scale. But, I mean, that's just cool. That's just so cool. Oh, I'm waiting for, the timer's going to go off in like 30 seconds. And so that's what I am waiting for right now. Oh, good. And time-wise, okay, I should have time to do some birds on the last blank. I don't know if I'll have time to unravel them because, you know, silly things like my wonderful children who I love very much. I have to pick them up. Oh, it's a good day to stay in and dye because it's pouring rain where you are. We'll see. It's gorgeous here. It's like 60 degrees. I'm going to pick up the kids by walking through, like, we're going to go for a walk when I pick them up because I need some exercise. But I'm actually going to change out of, like, I'm wearing leggings now. I'm going to change into a dress. And they'll be walking through the woods in their pajamas. But anyway, I'm going to go get that timer. And I think that I will send you guys to a brief commercial break. So thank you for watching that. But I am going to take, for those of you that don't see the commercial, you'll hear me talking about removing the second blank from the pot. And, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to add some more water to that. But this is now, and there it is. Oh, shoot. Okay, I am inserting the ad now, which was a little bit ago as I was talking about that. So not everyone always sees the ad, but yeah, here is our hot blank, and I definitely see some color breaking and whatnot. But this is also looking at the reverse side of some of this stuff. But ooh, look how much that blue, that teal without the guar gum spread out. That is pretty intense. All right, okay, that's almost getting, the old one, this one's almost cool enough. And let's see. What do I have to add some water to my steam bath? You're coming back from your commercial. I'm just adding some water to my steam pot. So that way I can go steam our awesome, awesome DNA. And I do not want the steam pot to run dry because that would be sad. You know what I'm not seeing? Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of bleeding over here and a little bit around here. Maybe because the background is green, it's not as obvious as before. Oh, okay. I'm now going to wrap, hopefully everyone's back. I'm just going to wrap this up into the little jelly roll like I do. I'm like, actually, so of all of this, the greens and tans have already been set since I dyed that on Monday. But I realized I don't really want to put anything on top of the black because I don't want there to be any dye transfer until we sort of get nice and steamy. Okay, so this is all set, and I'm not sure how steamy. Oh, there's already some steam. I just turned up the heat. Okay. So let me see how steamy this is right now before I decide the amount of time. Maybe I want to do a little longer. I'll still try 20 minutes. Whoops. If I can set my timer correctly. Got it on power boil. I'll check on that in a minute. But yeah, I think this is fun. Like, I have a feeling. Oh, thank you so much, Christy. Thank you so much for giving me the super chat. I really appreciate your support. You got an ad on your computer but not on your phone? Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess the algorithm for one is different than for the other. But thank you guys for being patient and sticking through that. I know that ads can be annoying and stuff, but it really does help, especially when I'm doing like many things at once. And yeah, it helps keep all this going. But I have the last blank that I dyed beforehand, and I think I'm going to bring out that bird stencil that I used at the beginning to use on that one. Even though I want to DNA everything, I want to turn everything into DNA. But I think that another day I'm going to have to use a blank, a new blank, and play around with the coloring most of the blank. But ooh, I should do a resist. I should paint some resist. Like, I should do something. There's so many cool things that can be done. Timer gives you a hard time, especially with the coffee pot. That's cute. It's like, oh, I'm almost out of. I did remember to eat lunch before I started today, so that was good. Oh, good. We're like less than 2 minutes into our timer, and the pot is nice and steamy. So that is great. I probably don't have. I have some more time, but not a ton more time, because I will need to go get. I said. Well, not just go get the kids, but I have to clean up all of this. So if you are just tuning in, this is a blank. Oh, Chromebook. Did you run out of batteries? Okay, I can turn this so I can see comments. The Chromebook that I spilled on the other day is working, so that's great. I could do birds and DNA, but I'm going to try to not, I've used the DNA a lot. I'm going to try to not do everything DNA as much as I might want to. So the blank that I'm using now is a Knit Picks stroll blank that I bought from them. The link to the bare blanks is in the video description. And I dyed this on Monday just by dip dyeing it into 3 drops of the Color Right Black food coloring, and then I just pre-soaked it in water with 3 tablespoons of vinegar, so that way there's been acid in it. And now I'm going to stencil in some colors. You have a question: why is it so much less time in the microwave and a long time in a pot or steamer? That's a good question, Suzanne, and the question is because that's the way I've done it. So microwaves heat a bit faster. So when you're microwaving it, and I don't know the science of it well, when you're microwaving it, it gets really hot really fast. Much faster than if you were to have it somewhere else because of the way that it makes the water molecules spin around everywhere. I think that it takes longer for the heat to penetrate to the center when you're steaming something. And so that's why I do longer time. But I also think that things get hotter in the microwave, whereas when you're just steaming it, you only get as hot as the temperature steam. I don't really know. I'm just sort of trying to think and figure this out as I babble. But I think that you don't necessarily need this long in the pot, but the reason why I do 20 minutes is because when I steam it is because sometimes I think that's how long I will leave something in a pot when I've dip dyed or kettle dyed. But you've seen in some of my dip dyeing videos that the colors will be like bound really, really tightly after. Ooh, I kind of want to remove a little more water. I'll just do this on the floor. When I've done some dip dyeing, like after a minute, all the colors will have bound. So I think it depends on the fiber type, how much dye you're using, and things like that. It's possible that silk might need more. Some of the RIT liquid dyes recommended 40 minutes of steaming, which that seemed like a lot to me. After that, I've done 20, and the 20 seems fine. So, which are the, what you just turn on, which are the guar gum and the, oh, if you turn on, ooh, that's hard because I think you might be watching from the beginning versus, let me just say in chat, because I think someone's watching. You might not be watching what? Yeah, because the thing with using this new webcam and doing it through YouTube versus on my phone is that you guys can sort of TiVo it, so you can go back to the beginning or go back in time, which means that there could be even more of a lag in what you see and what I'm doing. But anyway, this was a little bit of broken black. And I'm trying to decide what are the colors I've mixed. I mean, I could certainly do some black, and maybe I will, but I also have, is this the, no, that is the teal. Maybe I should do this teal with the guar. Yeah, this is the guar gum teal versus the liquid teal. No worries. I'm always happy to have questions. And a lot of times, if you guys ask something that I don't know the answer to, I will try to figure it out. Just like I'm only trying guar gum today because you guys asked about it multiple times. And the first time someone asked about it, I was like, I don't know what this thing is. I've never heard of this before. And then, you know, you get enough people asking, and then here I am trying it, loving it, and this is going to revolutionize the way that I do a lot of my hand painting. So I am very, very excited. So thank you so much, everybody. Your requests, like I have a list where I write down everybody's requests, and I really try to take it to heart. But if you're just tuning in, this is a Knit Picks double-stranded blank. So it's the whole blank is 100 grams, but it has 2 strands of yarn knit together. So that way when we unravel it, we will end up with 2 identical 50 gram skeins of yarn. And let's go, I'm going to do a few birds on here, sort of at an angle. And I'm going to try doing this with teal for this first one. So it's funny, with the DNA blank, I've gotten pretty good at how I sort of want to do the brush when it comes to coming across some of the areas. But this bird is a lot harder, I think, to get some of that bare space to stay bare. Yeah, so you can see, ooh, oh no, drop on the floor, drop on the floor. Okay, let's set that down. And I will clean this up. So this is actually pretty, wait, which one did I use? I think that's the guar gum. I think so. Yeah, I believe that's the guar gum versus the other teal. I'm giving myself doubts. Okay, let's try a different color as well. I'm doubting myself. That is not necessarily fun, but okay, let's do this other one with some black. Here's the black. This one I know is guar gummy. But the really nice thing, I think I need to remember that less is more while you're doing this. Whoops. Yeah, so the definition is pretty good. So on this blank, you can see I got that spot to sort of show up where the eye is, which, funnily enough, I'm going to, okay, that's a lot, but I'm going to cover that up actually, just because it doesn't necessarily make sense. I think in general, you know, these are some pretty fine lines with the twigs, but I think in general you might want to, let's do some of these flowers. I think in general you might prefer to do some, to have some stencils with some bigger footprints. Let's try squeezing out some of the liquid. And let's just very, very lightly this time go across this flower and see if I can get it. And of course I'm lowering my voice as I'm doing it. So I'm just tapping, I'm barely even pressing for that flower. Yeah, and even so, it still looks a little bit of a blob. I mean, when it comes to the leaves, this one went better. I think I was less heavy-handed. Let's try this first one again over here. And I'll do this one straight across. The nice thing about messing up is I plan to unravel this. So if you were, say, if you have a shop or something and you are doing this for someone and going to sell it as is, then, you know, this might make more of a difference to you. Okay, I got much better definition that time. But for me, since my intent here is to unravel it, it is, again, I'm going to close that up. You know, it's fine for me. That this is cute, you guys. It's fine for me that it's working like that. You just started watching. Did you pre-soak the blank? Yes. I pre-soaked the blank in some tap water with 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. And right now, so I started off at the very beginning. I did 2 different blanks with a whole variety of different sort of techniques, just sort of playing around. And now I am using, pretty much just doing the stenciling at this point, because I think that is my favorite. But you can see that these super fine lines on the birds aren't really working, but I'm getting a nice overview from the rest of it. And that's just because I don't like that spot. But again, I'm going to unravel it, so it's fine. Let's do one more of this one that I've been doing in black over here. And then I'll do a couple more teal birds. And then when my steamer pot is free, I will add this. Technically, in my steamer baskets, I tend to be able to fit 200 grams of yarn without too much issue, but yeah, the less liquid you add, the better definition that you get from the stencil. But you can see there that I just used it a couple times before wiping it off. Thank you. Yeah, the flowers don't really do too much for me, but I will, because I added one there, I'm going to add a black flower over here. Yeah, you can almost barely see them. So I'm going to do, Do some more of the teal. But I really, really like stenciling on top of it. I think that, you know, doing a dip dye or a very subtle background, and then you could do some stenciling to add sort of, you know, these will give this some specks of color. And I'm sort of trying to place this so that way there'll be some green and then some more black and then some green and some black, because I think that that would be fun with the way that this, I guess the yarn, and I'm not holding that down very well because, yeah, that I just got a blob. I do sort of want, I mean, that's the thing that, like, you know, I had a lot of fun with my first one. I really used it as a blank and just sort of went a little wild. But, well, that's funny. I almost have a chevron of the birds. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. I think I'm going to call that on my bird stencil. But I do want to take some pictures of this. Yeah, this again, I mentioned this before, but this is something that I'm only trying because you asked for it. I would never have gone for this, I don't think, if not requested. And so I am so happy that you guys asked me to try guar gum and asked what about stencils and stamps. I found that I had a lot more success with the stenciling than I did with the stamping. Of course, I still have to rinse everything. So there's still that question of how the rinsing of this will go. But I'm right now taking some pictures for the replay. So that way, funny, there's like a piece of indie fur that went on top. Because I will do a recap of everything that you've seen here today. So that way you can, if you missed part of it, you'll be able to tune back in. And yeah, and I think that it's awesome. Awesome. I'm also really liking this new camera angle. Is this? Okay, and I will be able to, I'm going to turn you guys around. Oh, funny. I'm turning you guys around so I can pop my head back in. But actually, I'm going to send you guys to a quick commercial break. This will be the last one that I do of the stream, although sometimes it pops one up as the stream ends. But yeah, thank you for watching it. It helps fund the channel. Another way, if you're so inclined, there's the dollar sign at the bottom of the chat. And so if you click on that, you can send some money to me directly without having to leave. And so it's always much appreciated. But hopefully it did not freeze. Okay. I was waiting to see. There's a bit of a delay. But I'm going to drink some water and sit for a moment. Okay, and now that I saw me talking about, I press the insert button. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone's support with all these streams. I have a blast doing this. Would love to come. I think that some of you, so if you're watching the live feed, you'll see a red dot with the word live and a full red viewing bar. Right, but I don't know if people see that if you go back in time. I don't know, because I don't know if that's what shows up if you're watching on a delay. Actually, let's see. Oh, okay, cool, you're right. It still says live. I went back in time on my preview, but I have to move it all the way to the side, and you see the red dot when you're like up and live and current with the stream. Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, I see some comments that are coming in that are probably from when I requested colors and whatnot in the past. And so, yeah, but I think I'm bummed that the colors are not coming through. I promise you that what I see in this blank is I see that the background is sort of this blue gray and then this sort of mauvey pink. And then the birds on top, we've got, black and teal sort of interspersed. They all, you can't really see the difference between the black and the teal, what's coming through on the stream. So that's sort of a bummer. I'm sorry. I try to get I can adjust the white balance, but I can't up the red. And reds on camera sometimes are really, really a bit of a pain to get. I'm glad you like this blank. It was nice to do something sort of like serene and I love DNA, but we'll pull out the blank that I started with as soon. So basically, the schedule for the rest of the stream will be as follows. The timer will go off shortly, actually. The timer will go off. I'll remove the blank from the steamer basket and set that aside. I'll roll roll that blank up and set it in the steamer basket. And then I will open up the very first blank we did so we can take a peek at it and get like a little reveal of how it looks after steaming. So, and as if on cue, let me go take that out of the basket. Oh, I have a lovely smile. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oops, I need a plate to put this on. Oh, da, da, da. What I don't have is I don't have a lovely singing voice. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see this really well, but so this just came out of the steamer basket, and you can see some spreading around, especially on the back of the DNA. There's some blue. So I'm going to be really curious when I open that up to see how well defined it still is. But that's why I made sure to did I take pictures of, yes, I did take pictures of this one before putting it in the steamer basket. That one also might be cool enough to open up, so maybe I'll be able to open up two. But I made sure, so we did 4 different blanks today. 2 Wool of the Andes worsted weight blanks that were homemade, and then 2 commercial stroll blanks like this one, which I bought from Knit Picks. And you can buy those ones too. So homemade blanks might vary based on your tension, but if you get some of the Knit Picks blanks, we all start off on a similar playing field. And because I know sometimes results vary with fiber type and stuff, so it's nice when you can get the same thing that I have. And actually, I want to briefly clean up a bit of that. So hopefully, either my Chromebook finally died after working for a tiny bit for this stream, or what's more likely is it ran out of battery. So, yeah. Sometimes, the nice thing about this being thicker is that didn't really, hopefully I don't spill onto the blank, but I mentioned these are like the Clorox disinfecting wipes, which are just kind of an easy way to clean up the food coloring off of my shower curtain. And so I'll let this dry before I open up the blank onto the surface, but I didn't want to get any other food coloring on it. But oh, yikes. Okay. I do have a fair amount of cleaning up to do today. I guess I can get started on some of that. I don't want to clean up. So now I have to decide is if I want to save some of these thickened dyes. So tomorrow's theme, oh shoot, I should have saved that for my other project. I had a paintbrush that I used at one point to test something out. Tomorrow's theme is, I'm not going to clean, I guess I'm not going to clean up on camera. Tomorrow's theme is spray paint. So I'm going to be using Wilton Color Mist sprays. I have some spray, I have a big spray bottle. I have some little spray guys. And yeah, we're going to spray paint. We might bring the stencils back out and spray paint over them. you know, we'll do a bunch of different sprays. The Misto is like a pressurized spray can. I will pop the schedule for the rest of the week into the chat. And so on there, you can see the materials that I will be using in some of these. So the Misto is like, I can mix my own food coloring, pressurize it, and then spray. And so we'll be playing around with that and seeing I have some blanks in the round, and I'm curious if I can get color penetration on just one side, not the other. And so there will be a lot of things that'll be fun to play around with that. But it should also go pretty quickly, so we might be able to get through a lot of blanks. Tomorrow is an evening session. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. I will be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time, which I know is in the middle of the night for a lot of you in Europe. But it's something that it makes it a little easier for the West Coast to tune in. Thank you. Do I pronounce your name Raka or Rika? Thank you so much for the contribution on the super chat. Thank you. That really, really helps to fund all of the materials. But I hope that I said your name right. If I didn't, give me a correction. You read my mind. You were just going to ask about sprays and stencils. So on Facebook, the Facebook name is just ChemKnits. Here, I'll drop that in. I'm just ChemKnits on Facebook. And here is and so you can see that sometimes there's a bit of a delay from like the chat. Like I think the chat is like real time. And what I say is, or the chat's like real time, but then you'll see what I say later. And so here is the ChemKnits Lab Facebook group. And the link to the group, so that way you can request to join. And again, you don't need to like list every fiber craft you do. That your answers to the questions only show up. Your answers to those questions only show up like when I add you, and then I don't see the answers anymore. I just ask, even put yarn or something, just indicate. It's basically to keep bots out. And I get some people, because it's called ChemKnits Lab, I get some people looking to join every single possible science group requesting to join. And so that's just the reason for why I just asked to express some fiber interest. But let's go do some reveals. So I think we've dried off. All right. This is the first blank that we dyed in the stream. And we did a mixture. Oh, I need to make sure I can see what's going on. We did a mixture of Wilton's Violet for all the colors, but we did both guar gum and no guar gum. And let's see if you can tell the difference. Whoa. Okay, so we did, this is awesome. So just right off the bat, here with the DNA, I used just Wilton's Violet, no guar gum here. And I used the guar gum here. And you could see what a difference there is and how sharp everything I painted here versus how loose the colors are over there. And again, here's a stripe that I drew when I used the guar gum. And here's the stripe that I drew without it. Ooh. Okay. So I also, you know how I took a paintbrush and I dipped the paintbrush directly into the like Wilton's Violet, the old container? Look at how sharp those lines are. Oh, forget the color markers, which are more expensive anyway. Use a brush with a tiny amount of the straight food coloring. Okay, this is the way I could zoom in more directly, but instead I'm going to go this way so you can see. That's this R that's right down here. There's a tiny bit of breaking around it. But again, I was using concentrated food coloring. But let me see if I just dropped it into my water. And of course, by picking it up, maybe I got some dye on me. But I was using this flat little brush with a tiny amount. I was just using the dye off of the lid of the straight Wilton's Violet. And that is awesome. Yeah, so let's see, what else did I do? Okay, so these TIE fighters, no, things aren't spreading from me moving them, are they? No, the color is set. Okay. It's just I have from before some color, and from picking up the brush a little bit of color in my hand, so I freaked out. I used the bird stencil that we used at the end. And so here's the bird with the guar gum, and here's the one without. And again, this guar gum solution that I made, that I used for all of the blanks, started off with 8 ounces of water and a 1/4 teaspoon of the guar gum. And that amount was enough to, there's still a tiny bit of bleeding, but the difference between these two birds is pretty striking. And again, we did hearts here. These are hearts that I cut out of a sponge. And so I used that as a stamp. And so with no guar gum, we got this bleeding. And with the guar gum, we got none. For the TIE fighter, I sort of painted, again, with the paint I did for the letter, I painted directly onto the rubber part of a cookie cutter. And so that's how I did that. But I am really, really excited by this blank, and I'm taking pictures for the recap. So that way, but I wanted to start off with a blank to show the difference between it, because I wanted to know myself, does the guar gum make a difference, and is it worth it? And I think the answer is yes and yes. In one of your older videos, you mentioned how much you love paper towels that you wipe your hands on. You also mentioned you want an apron. If you're able to get a white apron and just continually wrap your hands on it, that would be really pretty. The problem is that with food coloring and a cotton apron, it would wash out. I do plan to tie-dye. I bought an apron. I plan to tie-dye it at some point. But I will say that with these paper towels and rags are being really pretty. I also have some dyeing experiments coming up with doing that on some natural fibers, so that way maybe it'll stay. And so you'll have to stay tuned for that, because that's really fun. Yes, the guar gum is awesome. There's a link to the exact one that I used in the description, but the amount, where did it go? Oh, here's the bag. So I bought, and I think it was $8, but I got 15% off on Subscribe and Save on Amazon. This is the guar gum that I bought. But again, I think I have I have 10 ounces. And I used a 1/4 teaspoon for all the dyeing today. And I still have a ton left. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, when I film the recap of the dried blanks from today, and I'll go through sort of the different techniques, and I'll do close-ups of these different sections so you can really see the colors. But when I do that, I will also try to pay attention and see if the guar gum is hard to rinse out. I mean, I'm trying to tell if I can feel, like maybe you can kind of feel it. Yeah, it's sort of slimy. So actually, I'm going to want to, I don't want to let this dry out with the guar gum in it. So I'm probably going to put this, I'm going to pick this one up so we can unwrap one of the others, but I'm going to put this straight into this basin. And I'm going to put some water in just so it can start soaking. Because this one is completely cool. Yeah, so that way I can rinse it out later. But I'm glad, it's sort of like when I do candy and stuff, I like to not make sure it doesn't dry out, because I just think it would be a little harder to remove. But that is pretty. And I'll open up one more. Ooh. Yeah, you can kind of, it feels slimy. It has some feeling to it. It's not neutral. Okay, so this is the other, not one of the over-dyed ones. This was a bare 100% worsted weight wool that I will unwrap if I can find a way in. It's not 100% cool, but trying to get a way into this plastic wrap. Someone asked me about using it in the microwave today and if it melts. And it doesn't melt, but it does, like, it tends to stick to itself anyway. And so heating it just, oh my, Oh, oh, okay, you can't even really see it yet. Oh my, oh my, oh my. I am beyond excited. So we have some breaking still. So the difference between the last reveal and this one is that the last reveal used superwash wool, which we know takes color faster and a bit better than non-superwash. Let me get the correct sides. Wow. Wow. So on the 100% wool, we still have, oh, thank you, Oreo Cream Rocks. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the super chat. And I don't think I'd ever read your name completely before, but I agree. I make a really, really good Oreo cheesecake that has, that I use the Oreo cream in the filling of the cheesecake as a completely random aside. But thank you so much for your support. Okay, so this is the part that got me gasping, oh my, oh my, oh my. In this section where we used the stencil, I mean, it was the small version, which it's clear, so I can't really see. There's a small version of the stencil, so that way when I painted it, it left the DNA in white, but we see some breaking from the black. And that breaking means that we're seeing through the DNA, and that's just gorgeous. Again, you can see some breaking on this one right here that was also done with the guar gum. You can still see the lines from the DNA, but you know, you're seeing the blue halo around it. Now, I did do a few things here that were not with guar gum. So the green heart and the pink heart here had guar gum in them. This dark teal stripe had guar gum. This stripe did not. This one bled a lot. And so this was a tiny bit of Wilton's Violet that was left that bled maybe about as much as here. But this heart was done with the teal that had no guar gum in it. And you can barely tell that this is a heart anymore. It just bled a lot. So in general, these stencils are not nearly as sharp. Depending on the color, it's not nearly as sharp as the colors were on the superwash yarn. So I think that if you want to be doing stenciling on worsted weight yarn, or not worsted weight, if you want to do stenciling on 100% wool yarn, then you might want to use and take care to use something that, a stencil that has like a bigger lines to it. Or you maybe need to use some more guar gum with it. But you still can definitely see the pattern. And I think that someone could look at this and be like, oh yeah, that's DNA. I'm very curious to see how much bleeding we got on, and this one's still too warm for me to unravel it, but to see how much bleeding we got on the DNA that we did on the flat wool of the Andes blank. But this is awesome. So let's see. Ooh, yeah, we got some bleeding going on back there, but I think in general, yeah, the back has a lot more white. The colors, oh, here, I wonder how much would be on the, no, probably not much on the wrong side. The colors definitely did not bleed or travel anywhere near as far as they do. If I had tried to do this DNA stenciling without the guar gum, I don't think any of it would have turned out. So I think that this is amazing. I cannot wait to see these dry. I think that this is just awesome. Oh my gosh. I think that this is something that I want to try with Violet on the bigger scale. Because at first on the other blank, I was curious if with no guar gum, if like the reds, with how fast the reds really strike. So if we could get the cool definition in the red with the color bleeding around it. But I really want to try the violet and basically try to achieve this, what I see here with the black, with the Wilton's Violet. I think that would be awesome, awesome, awesome. So again, and I know that, so Erin from I Can Craft That, who made this for me, this is not like, she doesn't normally make stencils. She makes these really cool like paper doll kind of kits. I don't know if they get glued together, but she cuts all this paper. So she does a lot of cutting of stuff. And like, I can't thank you enough that these stencils really excite me so much. And I am beyond excited right now about this. And now that I know that this works, I know what I want to look for when I go to St. Michael's and look at stencils. And I did have some smaller foam brushes. Maybe I could have done the dinosaur, but I'm not sure about the definition that you can get. Clearly, let me pull out. Actually, I'm going to go say bye-bye to the pretty and put it into just some water to soak as well. But that way I don't accidentally dye stencil. But as with the stencil that we were using before, these little things like from the wings and stuff, those little details did not show through. But, so I guess you don't want to look for the tiniest features because that might not work unless you saw the level of detail that I was able to get when I used just a flat paintbrush and the lid of the Wilton's Violet. And I think the flat paintbrush was key. Here, I'm going to come sit down so that way you can see my face. I think the flat paintbrush was key because I was able to use a tiny amount of the food coloring. It was super concentrated, so it doesn't look black. You still have the colors, but I was able to get really great detail. So you could maybe do a stencil and then go back with a tiny amount of black, just straight, and maybe make those fine lines. You normally don't stencil on your blanks. But it's just fun. And I think that, there's a lot of possibilities. I think the DNA is now up there before, well, actually, let me go grab it. I think that before this one was my favorite that I did on the first night. And unfortunately, I accidentally started to unravel it a little bit. But this was the one that I had crinkled up and then I low immersion dyed. And the colors just came out so cool. Initially, my plan was I'm hoping for some a gradient of pastels and then I'll stencil over it. But there was no way I wanted to stencil over this. This is just cool. So this is still one of my favorites, but I think stenciling is I think especially if you're going to send a whole blank to someone versus unraveling it yourself, stenciling is a really fun way to leave a little mark and do a little extra. But this is fun. But unfortunately, I would love to stay and chat some more. And it's really hard. Okay, wait, hold that thought. I got to go tend and take this out of the stove and turn off. See, this is why timers are important, because then you remember to turn off your stove and you don't have any problems. Because I will be, and so here are the two guys that are cooling. I'll make myself small again so we can see the wrapped up yarns. I would love to stay and chat a little longer just because I'm having fun and I don't want to stop, but I have to leave in about 15 minutes to go pick up the kids. Well, maybe a little longer since I'm walking, so there's not going to be traffic, but I have to leave. I have to start getting ready to leave and make sure that there are no cups of dye available for the little 2-year-old to drive his car into and knock them over. But this was so much fun. And I just want to thank all of you again for all of the inspiration that you give me. Again, this is something that I never would have tried if I hadn't gotten the questions. And the guar gum, I think, has opened a whole new world for limiting the way the colors break. And I'm curious about how the black is going to look on the blanks. That's something that I know everybody has been wanting black. And, if we've gotten close to that, that's really, really awesome. I really appreciate everything. And thank you so much for hanging out. And tomorrow, 8 p.m., I will be doing some spray painting. And so I think that the stencils will probably make an appearance again. because I don't think I'll be able to resist not playing with them again, because this was really, 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 really fun. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful afternoon, evening, and so yeah, thank you, everyone. And I don't think there's anything else. And oh, again, there's a lot of links to a lot of the items that I used today. I do have affiliate links, but I was not approached by anyone to specifically showcase anything. All the product selections were my own, and all of my opinions about the products are also my own. So there's that. But I am Rebecca from ChemKnits. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. And please give this video a like if you've enjoyed it. And if you are catching the replay, you can leave a comment on the video, and I will try to get to that later this evening. Thank you so much, everyone.